You're going to learn exactly how to build a executive level dashboard in Tableau today in today's Data Doctor Live. Hey, what's happening, people? Alex Esmoy here, aka the Data Doctor, and we're going to be doing another Tableau live build today. I'm going to show you behind the scenes how I design dashboards in Tableau and really give it that executive look and feel, or even like a web application feel, where your end users don't even know that they're using Tableau, especially if you use the embedding feature and put it in a website. It looks and feels like a web app. There's all sorts of tips and tricks to really produce something of that level of quality. And I'm going to show you guys kind of behind the scenes, high level, how you can do this yourself. And it's going to take you through one of my sample dashboards, something that I'm building today that's not complete, but it is going to be a showpiece in the future for clients and prospects that want to work with Data Doctor and the type of reporting and analysis that we do for our clients. So let's go ahead and dive in. I'm going to go full screen so you can see exactly what I'm doing and how this looks like and how we can build this. All right, so over here, we've got our Tableau dashboard, and you can see if I go full screen, this looks just like a web app. You know, you've got your menu bar over here, maybe some additional features coming soon. In this case, we've got our refresh time, and then we've just got some data, and this is sample Superstore data. But you've got your high-level KPIs, maybe some filter segments over here, indicator on last refresh date, and then you've got these high-level metrics, a little visualization, maybe a little bit more details. And then down here, you could have even more details. So things to come in the future. But we're not necessarily worried about what we're displaying here data visualization-wise. We're more concerned about how do you actually build this layout. And that's what we're going to cover exactly step by step, how you can do that too. So I'm going to keep all of these same visualizations, all these same sheets, and we're going to reuse them in this demo as I show you guys how you can build out your own layout like this. So first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to grab a new dashboard. And let's go ahead and increase the size over here to 1400. And let's go back and check. And then I think, yeah, 850. So for me, in my monitor side, I really like this spec. You guys can come up with your own specifications for what your dashboard size is. This just works really well for a wide desktop view. You also have the ability to come in and set up other device previews, so you can set up a mobile view as well. And that's really helpful depending on your client needs. And then the other thing that I like to think about is how do I want this to be displayed, right? So the first thing I'll do is typically I'll use maybe a PowerPoint or Google Drive present slides and just really do a quick mock-up or even pen and paper of what I want to look like. So we have our mock-up kind of laid out over here. And then what we want to think about is how is this broken up in sections, okay? And what we want to think about is how is it broken up in sections that are vertically divided and horizontally divided, okay? And so let me grab paint over here for a second and show you guys what that could look like. And let's make this a little bit bigger. So I'm just going to show you what, just make this a little bit bigger so that we can mock it up really quickly. All right, so I might look at this dashboard and think, okay, I've got this bar up here, so this is a section, and then we've got this sidebar over here, and then we've got this main visualization area. So you want to think about this in sections that you're dividing. So if I'm just quickly dividing, I've got one vertical divider right here. And then up top over here, I've got a horizontal divider. So I've got a section over here, got a section over here, got another section over here. And then this looks like it's all one section. So that's all fine right there. And then this is another, it's going to be lined up, but it's going to be its own little container right here, right? So this is a vertical container, right? And as you start looking at these sections, you're like, oh, okay, so this is a header. So this is going to be a horizontal container, and this is going to be another vertical container, right? So we want to start planning out how we want to lay out our dashboard. And you don't have to have every aspect of this sorted out at the very beginning, but as much of it as possible makes this whole process easier. So this is very, very high level kind of sketch of what we want. And let's just delete this section because I realize I have another component right down here, another block down here. So this is one container over here. And so now let's just grab a box. And I'm going to change the color so that we can kind of see. Let's make this really, really thin. And we'll think about our containers like this. So we'll have one container. We'll have like a global container, right? This is vertical. And then we're going to have another container. Let's see. Click outside that. That's going to be up here. It's going to be horizontal. And let's we'll make the verticals in that kind of yellow orange color. I think which one did I select over here? Yeah, we'll make this one this color, and then we'll make the blues horizontal containers so that you can kind of see we've got a horizontal container here. We've got another horizontal container here. So every vertical line is a horizontal container. I know this might seem complicated the first time you're thinking about this, but this is how I look at it. Oops. Ooh. And how I think about it. And it's what helps me to really plan out my content and how I'm going to build out my dashboard. So you can see this is a vertical container. Over here is a horizontal container because there's a vertical divider. And then we're going to have another vertical container right here. Right? And so that looks like it's a lot, right? And that's a lot of details and whatnot. But I'll show you guys how you can actually build this in Tableau fairly easily. So let's go back in here. I'm going to slide this over just a smidge and see if we can keep our reference diagram over here. We'll zoom all the way out so we kind of know what we're building. Let's see if we can make it small and keep everything on the screen for you guys to be able to see. So I've got this diagram layout, and so the first thing, the highest level is going to be this vertical container. So I'm going to drop this in here. And one thing that you'll find when you're working with containers in Tableau is it can get a little bit cumbersome and messy in terms of how you drag and drop things into the dashboard. So what I like to do is I like to use this blank in here. And I'm just going to drop a couple blanks. So you'll notice that it highlights down here at the bottom. If I drag it down further, you're going to get this half, which is going to put it in its own section, its own container. But we want it in the container. So if I come up just a little bit, it's going to give that thin gray strip at the bottom. And I'm just going to drag it. I like to use 3 blanks in here because it gives me a way for me to just drop things in between sections, which just makes this whole process a lot easier. All right, so I've got my vertical container for the whole thing. Now I'm going to create this top section. And you might say, Alex, since you put it up top, again, I'm going to put it in the middle. I can always delete the blanks later. This is how I like to do it because I find it a whole lot easier. So you'll find as soon as you drop that first blank, it's going to make it really, really small for that container. So if I click on this, I can't select the container anymore because it's got a blank in there. But I can come over here and click on select container horizontal, click on it. Now it's blue, which means it's a container versus the object. And I can edit the height. And so I'm just going to go ahead and set this at 150 so that it's a little bit higher, longer. It's not wider, so the height is, I think it's higher. And so we're going to grab another blank and do the same thing. And so you can see this time we're going horizontally because we've got a horizontal container. So I'm just building it out, and I'm just going to drop in the number of blanks that represent kind of those placeholders for those different worksheets later on. And And so this is going to start building kind of that scaffolding of what we want. Now, the other trick that I like to use, and I'll go ahead and do this really quickly, is this is a blank within our vertical container over here. And if we come over here and select the height and we fix it to say 10 pixels, okay, it's already got an outer padding of 4 on top and bottom. And so we come over here and change the background, and let's make this a darker gray. It will create this strip essentially, or divider line. And so I like using this to be my divider because it's an object that's going to fit in my container. Some people use Figma backgrounds for the entire dashboard, and they have it pixel perfect, and that's a great approach too. But for me, I like to do that. And what you can actually do, oops, make sure I don't click floating accidentally, is you can see that it doesn't go all the way to the edge. And so there's a couple things that you can do to fix that. The first thing is, let's see, make sure we're selecting the right one. You can come over on this layout pane, and you're actually able to select all your objects using here. So if I want to select a container, I can actually select it here. Now, if you want to manipulate the height or the width, you still have to come over to this drop-down menu. Tableau, if you're listening, it'd be great if we can adjust the size right here in this layout menu. That would be fantastic. But otherwise, you have to come in here, select it over here to do that. And maybe that's going to be something they update in a future release. But you can create your background color and your border, and if it's blank, it's actually going to allow you to do that. So if you do a 10 pixel high box, it's going to give you a 2 pixel strip because of this outer padding. So we really want a thin 1 pixel line. We can actually drop that down to 9, and you can see that that's going to go. Now, if we wanted to go all the way across, we can remove our left and right padding, and that's going to extend it. Now, the only reason why it's not going all the way to the end of our page is because we still have this exterior tile layout. And I'm just going to remove from dashboard. Oh, maybe not. Remove container. Okay. And that way we just have our vertical container on the outside. And I think that should be good. It's still looking like we've got a little bit of padding. Not sure where that's coming from now. But we can just come back over here, and we can drop this down to 0. Yeah, so I think there was some residual effect of that tile container. I'm not sure why that was, but we can still maintain that tile container, drop it down to 0 exterior or outer padding. And now you can see that that line goes all the way to the edge because we've removed the outer padding over here and over here. And these other containers that you add in won't have any outer padding naturally. And you can use the outer and inner paddings to give your dashboard a really clean look and feel around your visualizations. I like the inner paddings for some of the metrics and visualizations layouts because it just helps you to use the containers, but then be able to kind of control how it's displayed, and it's not necessarily filling up every single cell. All right, so we've got our horizontal container up here. We've got this vertical divider that we're using a blank within our vertical container. Let's continue building out the next steps. So over here, it's a little bit more complex, right? We've got same thing though. We're just going to grab a horizontal container, put it down here. In fact, I don't really need this blank placeholder anymore because we've got our divider line in place, which is a separate blank. And so I feel good about just removing that. That's not going to cause us too much of an issue. So same deal. When we drop the blank in, it's going to make it really, really small. We can come back over here to our container, edit our height. Let's say 650. Okay. Apparently I just got sent some money from my sister-in-law. And we'll just go ahead and update this over here, drop in 3. And so that's going to essentially give us a sidebar. So what we can do now is I'm going to grab my, we actually have a vertical container in there on my other one, but for just demonstration purposes of what we're doing here, I'm just going to drag in just this. We'll go ahead and remove the title, and we'll go ahead and modify the width. So we'll come over here and say, let's make this 150. And so now that looks like a sidebar, you know, and we can make it a little bit wider if we want. And so what's really nice is, again, you can come over here and say 180, but I don't necessarily want it touching all the things on the sides. And so I can come over here and say, let's add a 10, whoops, not 100, 10 padding. And now it's kind of separated out. And you can fine tune and adjust it. Maybe you want it touching the left side of your screen, but that's up to you, and that's your preference. So we'll come over here, edit the width. I'm going to move a little bit faster, and just in the interest of time, and we'll just come over here and set this one up over here. So I can, again, come over here and uncheck the all equal sides, drop that down, and now we've got it. It would be touching, but we also have the vertical padding on this one. If I can, so sometimes it's going to be a lot easier to just come over here. So if I wanted to be touching the line, I can just drop that down, and now we have that line right there. Let's just go back over here for a second and increase this back to, we'll increase the height by 1 pixel. So it's got the padding added as the pixel height, or the height of that blank. And so that's why it was saying 5 instead of the original 10 that we started with. So when you edit those, it will change kind of the width and height of your blanks. All right, so this isn't going all the way down to the bottom because we still got a blank at the bottom. We can remove that. We can set the stuff to fill afterwards. But let's let's remove some of these extra menu items that pop up. And then let's build this section right here. So we've got essentially just one large section. It's going to be a vertical container. So let's grab that vertical container, plop it right here in the middle. That's useful. And then let's go back to our other dashboard to see what we had over here. So we have a title. And so you can just grab a text box, and we'll just say some title over here. And so you can see this is our container in the middle. We'll clean this up in just a second, but this is the layout that we're going for. We'll drop a couple blanks again because those are really helpful for just spacing things out as you're building. So this bottom section is part of this vertical container, but inside here we've got a horizontal and a vertical. So those are 2 more containers that we're gonna have over here. So we're gonna drop this horizontal, and it fills up the space, which is great. And let's just drop a couple blanks in there so that we kind of have our placeholders and everything. It makes it a little bit easier. And you can see right there, I had a little bit of trouble dropping in that third blank, and that's just because, again, the Tableau can be a little bit finicky. I like to increase the height or width of my container so that I can drop it in a little bit easier. And then finally, we're just going to have this vertical container over here. So I'm just going to drop it. I like dropping in the middle, not on the ends. Sometimes I miss, and it will be, again, that's where you have a little bit of a challenge. I'm going to say, let's make this 650. I think that's good. We'll remove this blank now, and then over here in this, I'm going to drop 2 blanks in here. That's going to be those sections over there. All right, so we've got our skeleton of our framework over here. Okay, I'm just going to remove that as well. And now what we can do is start to build some more of our visualization. So I've got a image that I want to put up here. So I'm going to grab my maybe Data Doctor logo. Okay. Perfect. Fit the image, center the image, apply, boom. We've got our image in here. We will edit our width to 180 so that we've got that same section matching over here. And I'm going to select a container and really drop down the height of this container to say 120 maybe, maybe even a little bit smaller than that. So edit height to 100 and see how that looks. Okay, so I think that's all right. I'm going to edit the width of this blank to be 10, and that's going to be just a little bit of spacer right there. And we come back over here, we've got our refresh date, so let's just grab that dashboard, drop it in over here. I can drop it in on this side, then remove the blank. We can right click and hide our title, and then come over here, fill the entire view. Yeah, that's going to make it a little bit, well, let's make it a little bit wider than that, say 150. Yeah, and so that's starting to look pretty good right there. And we can do the same blank trick and start adding some of those dividers. Let's just grab our KPI bar up here. Let's see, where is it? Product segment summary. All right, that's what that one's called right there. We can drop our titles. We can remove this over here. And let's make this again a little divider over here. Not going to add the segment filter for right now, just so that we can keep this fairly short. And I'll go ahead and add a divider over here as well. So you can start to see this is how you can build out the layout. And I think one of the things that I didn't really learn until later in my Tableau development journey is really how to use containers, how to manipulate them, how to stack them on top of each other so that they would lay out the way I wanted them to. So I'm going to remove this. We don't need this space over here. This is the title for this section. We'll just make this a little bit larger. And then we've got, if we come back over here, we've got this section, which is inside of this container. So we'll grab, come back over here. We've got our top locations, which we can just go ahead and put over here. And I'll hide the titles. We'll remove that. And we'll actually keep this one over here. And we can edit the width again. We'll make it 10. Just keep everything consistent right now. And add this line here for dividing. And then we'll come back over to our dashboard items, grab our large items, put it first over here, hide the titles, let's do entire view, maybe just standard is fine. I think that looks good. And it will grab our product bins. Again, I like to put it in the middle of those two. I'm gonna remove that and remove that as well. And now you can start to see this thing coming together. Let's modify the height of this to be, let's make this one a thin line. Just want it kind of a, so now we're starting to see what that looks like. Let's go back and I'll come over here actually and select, so here's the horizontal container. And I can actually right click over here as well. So let's set this to 500 pixels. And maybe that's a little bit too large. So we'll just modify it down to 450 or 400. So this chart over here is big. And then let's just say standard for this. All right, so we can manipulate that a little bit. Let's just unfix the width and then fix the width again. And so now you can start to see, now we've been able to build out this dashboard, right? And so now you guys can actually take this concept idea and be able to build your own dashboards with it. You know, there are countless hours you can spend, I think, working on your dashboard layouts and adding a little bit of polish to your product. and it's all worthwhile because at the end of the day, when people are consuming your data, the analytics that you're producing, you really want them to feel like it's a seamless experience. And when it looks good, you communicate trust to them. And of course, there's a lot more that we can do in here to kind of helm this up, or even move this or switch the containers around a little bit. Maybe start with horizontal and have this all be one section with our logo. But there's a lot you can do in here. But I want to show you guys how you actually can plan your dashboard out, stack horizontal and vertical containers, use blanks as placeholders, which I find is a very useful, helpful strategy for managing your containers, and then using the blanks also as dividers, and using the background and the padding to adjust that. And then even going back and removing your dividers on some of your containers, that gives you some additional continuity with how your lines go all the way to the end of your dashboard. So hopefully you guys have found this useful and helpful. These are some of the tips and tricks that I've picked up over the years in building and designing different dashboards in Tableau. I still enjoy using Tableau quite a bit, even as we are exploring more AI and automation and SaaS projects these days. And hopefully you guys have enjoyed this too, and hopefully it's something that's useful. If you like it, be sure to like and subscribe to the channel, and let me know down below in the comments what you guys want to see more of, if this has been helpful, useful, and what you guys want to see in the future.